How's it going, host bodies?
How's the host body doing?
How's your host body going? Who you hosting lately?
So sad because we both have so many little girls in our lives.
I know.
And
I'm thinking of good podcast titles for Welcome to Host with the Most. Host Body Podcast.
The Host Body Podcast.
How to keep your body hostable.
Or an unhostable.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
How to get a 1-star rating on your host body so no one ever tries to stay there. It's the podcast that Saucy Serpent warned you about.
Welcome to Biting All the Apples, where two gals discuss one radical book.
The best-selling critical and comedic masterpiece from 1895, The Woman's Bible by Elizabeth Cady Stanton. I'm Sarah Kay.
I'm Joanna V.
Hey, New Testament, who dis?
Who dis? Who dis?
That's right.
We made it.
That's right. We are moving into the part of the Bible with chapter names that even I can pronounce. I'm looking at you, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. It sounds modern, right? Like so modern that this is where the Bible gets more lady-friendly. Well, our chair's Victorian feminist Elizabeth Cady Stanton tells us, no, not at all. From the looks of her intro to the New Testament in the Woman's Bible, we're in for a real ride on the patriarchy train. We'll go over her intro and get into the analysis of the book of Matthew. We're talking lineage, magi's, and lots of virgins.
All the virgins. All the virgins.
Because, apparently they're still coming at us in large quantities. These biblical virgins. So grab a cup of something or tie your laces on for that walk. We're getting into it right after our friendly disclaimers.
Biting All the Apples covers analysis of religious texts. Some listeners that are religious out of the need for the illusion of certainty may find the content offensive. Biting All the Apples also discusses historic texts and feminist movements. We recognize that individuals, groups, and alternative movements have been left out of mainstream history. We will note that whenever possible. We are open to additional information provided to us in the spirit of expanding knowledge.
Yes. You know,
Here I am.
Expand my knowledge. I debated on changing the intro format because now we're in the New Testament. I'm like, do we need new disclaimers? But I don't, do we?
No, because I'm telling you, from what I read, definitely needed, because this is going to throw some people for a whoa.
It's going to throw some
like
people.
if you're listening to the podcast, you probably thought these things already, but it's just like validation.
Yeah.
The disclaimers are needed. I don't know how we change it, except for, and now we're in the New Testament.
Well, I mean, should we shorten it? Do people get the idea? It's good.
Oh, yeah. I guess we could just be like,
I know.
Check back on the other. If you made it this far, you don't need the disclaimer.
You know what listeners may not know is that it's taken us 30 minutes to do that 1-minute intro.
It did. People don't know.
People don't know there's so many different factors. Like, I have ligament laxity and run into crap all the time.
Ooh, ligament laxity.
I don't know if that's a real thing.
But I have it. Is that when you just like run into things even though you know they're there?
Yeah.
Or if you have like 10 things in your hand and you're like, I'll get one more. And then you trip and you lose them all. And you're like, it takes you 10 times longer.
Or if there's only one place in an entire room where you could possibly stub your toe, I'm going to go find it.
Yeah. Take me to it. I want to get hurt. Let me cut my hand as I'm trying to chop an avocado. It'll happen.
It'll happen. You know what? What can we say? We're people that are in life.
That's right. We don't have time to slow down and look for things that we're going to stub our toe on.
Exactly. And I never
doors that accost your arm and bruise you for weeks.
You don't know if you're alive until, you gotta like bleed every so often. We're chicks. That's how it goes.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I don't know if I'm progressing unless I drop some blood from my host body. That is important. Is that from this week?
I know.
It's the first time I've been referred to as a host body in like real life.
I'm starting to think, okay, so
in
listeners,
real life.
There was something, a clip circulating, but it looked like it was some kind of
podcast.
It was some, it was
but
some
no, he
kind
was
of
a guy.
Some kind of jack ballers with a podcast. It looked like it was a conference.
Something.
In Florida. Of course,
It was definitely in Florida. It was Florida. It was Florida. Florida, the new country.
But I think I'm starting to see people say such shocking things. One, it is terrifying, but two, it's making me question how much we should be responding with outrage, because that is how the misinformation and propaganda stuff works. So what we're talking about is there was some guy in a suit talking about women as host bodies.
Yeah.
For babies.
Well, basically, he was explaining the abortion laws, and he just, instead of saying the mother, could have these issues, she was no longer referred to as anything but a host for a parasite, which will be her child if she makes it through.
Oh, yeah, and he was kind of like, so then you don't know, like, is the host body's rights more? And and I've been in, the reproductive justice.
Yeah, you got a lot of background.
But at this point, that's why I'm almost suspicious of it, because the sentiment has been the same forever. But they're using this new, I don't know if they have to amp it up because women have made such strides. I don't know if it's a dog whistle. I don't know if they're just trying to busy people, so people like us will be outraged about it. And really,
But they're trying to busy us with so many things, like there's so much wrong. I can't.
If you want to busy me, just ask me to organize something in my own home. I won't see you for 5 years.
I'm telling you, I was just telling you about organizing in the home.
And I'd rather be a host body than a nobody.
Oh, zap! I'll give you the Z-snap.
Okay, what are we doing here? We turn to the Bible for answers. The Woman's Bible.
The Woman's Bible.
Yeah,
it's my
things are
Bible.
getting crazy. So I can't believe that we are in the New Testament.
I've been waiting for this because this is my jam.
This is your jam.
I didn't grow up with the Old Testament, just little pieces. But I'm telling you, every Sunday for the majority of my childhood, I was learning.
Really?
Well, I liked church. It was very therapeutic for me. I told you that. I liked to repeat what they were saying. I liked the little readings.
What was my favorite thing was the Apostles' Creed. Which is also probably why I love all the parts, again, bringing up Game of Thrones. But I like when people have, they have an oath or a creed they have to stand up and say, where they're just like, I will stand
in
by the
one
wall.
God, the Father, the Almighty, maker of heaven and
earth. See, that's so badass.
For all that is seen and unseen. Yeah, I love it.
I love it.
I love it too.
I don't know if I loved it in the way that I was supposed to love it, but I was just like, yeah.
I
want a code. I want a creed like that.
Fist bump.
All that is seen and unseen, that's fresh.
Right?
I know. It reminds me of
they changed it a little bit.
They did.
Yeah, and it happened, a long time ago, but I don't go to church regularly anymore. So when I go, and it just upsets me because, my mind is wired.
Is it softer? Is it, nicer?
No, they just changed, a couple. I think they were trying to get people reinvigorated by changing a couple words. And
don't touch the creed, man.
Why?
Don't touch
I
the
had
creed.
it, and now it takes away my joy. And I have to read it.
Yeah, and it's not the same. I want to stand
it's
up and
instead of saying one thing, you're like, "Am I right?" It's not. But
yeah, it's funny that I liked that as a child, and then my favorite parts of Game of Thrones, where when the night watchman would be like, "And now my watch has begun, and I will stand with my sword." I mean, that's not what it is, but I'm like, I love that.
Yeah, it's powerful.
But it also proves that people want to be a part of something.
That is true.
So a creed or a code or an oath is very attractive.
Okay, so we just need to this is what we need to do. We need to create a creed.
For host bodies.
No.
Okay, sorry.
Not for host bodies. For bringing back androgyny and saving the planet. I just want to save the planet.
I know.
From rich, evil men and some women. There's a few.
I want to know, who are the rich, evil women? I mean, aside from the
who's
director of the
Clarence
Department
Thomas?
of Education.
Yeah.
Jenny Thomas.
Jenny Thomas.
Woo!
She's one. She's
tell you something.
number one.
We are in the land of Hillsdale College here in Michigan.
Oh. They have curriculum,
They got some curriculum.
They got some curriculum. They just want to get it out to you.
Speaking of curricula.
Is this our curricula?
This is our curricula. The New Testament, we're getting into it. they have a short they, as in Elizabeth Cady Stanton in Friends, but I think it's just Elizabeth that does.
Nope.
It's our first with the anonymous.
Yeah.
So we have our first anonymous.
And I want to know who it is because they're wonderful.
They're wonderful.
And I'm like, why would you not want to be known?
So this is pretty much, we have an intro to the New Testament. The quote at the top says, "Great is truth and mighty above all things."
I love that.
Where is that from? Esdras?
I read that when I started reading, and I was like, oh, truth.
Truth.
Do you remember truth?
No.
I remember truth being important.
And just like we said in the intro, Stanton poses a question. She goes, does the New Testament bring promises of new dignity and larger liberties for women? And when thinking women make any criticisms on their degraded position in the Bible, Christians point to their exaltation in the New Testament, as if under their religion, women really does occupy a higher position than under the Jewish dispensation.
While there are grand types of women presented under both religions, there is no difference in the general estimate of sex. In fact, her inferior position is more clearly and emphatically set forth by the apostles than by the prophets and patriarchs. There are no specific directions for women's subordination in the Pentateuch as in the epistles, which I found interesting. So I'm like, ooh, she's like, y'all ruined the New Testament.
Shouldn't have left this up to a bunch of dudes.
Look at the dudes. Look at what the apostles did.
Yes.
But, you know.
And I hear this a lot if anybody hears like what our podcast is about and they're like, well, there's lots of like strong women in the Bible. And what about Mary? And I'm like, I'm so glad you said that because that's what this is about. It's not, people mistake just having like the presence of a woman, meaning that then it's cool. It's like, no, you have to look at how they are portrayed.
Yeah.
That's
Mary
their
is a host.
Mary is Mary is the host. She's the original host.
She's the original host body.
So I'm like,
no,
okay.
She had no control over it.
Yeah.
Bam, you get a baby.
I know.
And you're the only one.
So Elizabeth says, why the founders of the Christian religion did not improvise an earthly father as well as an earthly mother doesn't clearly appear in the New Testament. The questionable position of Joseph is unsatisfactory, as Mary belonged to the Jewish aristocracy. She should have had a husband of the same rank. If a heavenly father was necessary, why not a heavenly mother? So this is where I want to pause, because that whole Jewish aristocracy, I'm like, I had not heard that. Have you heard this?
Not with Mary and Joseph, no,
Right.
not at all.
I
I thought
not.
she was like a poor little shepherd's daughter. In my head, made up.
Or maybe it wasn't made up. I believe that's kind of like the catechism kind of.
I mean, that's how I always, she was like poor and they had a donkey and.
Yeah, I was like, she was just a poor gal that answered the call
But
to God.
apparently she was.
But I believe that is a different, so this is where some biblical scholars and different, it's gone through periods of interpretation. Mm-hmm. But it does say that some people claim Mary's parents were Joachim and Anne and trace her lineage back to King David. Yes. And for Christians, the connection to David is crucial because prophecies state the Messiah would be a descendant of King David.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense.
However, that may be like a like I said, it might just be
but
interpretation.
Here's the thing, like when you're reading through this, so we have the biblical text, but there's also historical texts. That's what I found out about Josephus. He is a historian. He's not, I don't think he was a religious person. He was just a historian, like writing down history. Like that's an important thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So, I don't know.
I will tell you that it did seem like there were widely varied opinions on
I'm going to
this.
say,
but Elizabeth says it in here.
And Elizabeth is a very learned person.
Right.
And surrounded by learned people and historians.
So she sets this up where she's like, this isn't much better. If an earthly mother was admirable, why not an earthly father? The Jewish idea that Jesus was born according to natural law is more rational than is the Christian record of the Immaculate Conception by the Holy Christ, the third person of the Trinity. These biblical mysteries and inconsistencies are a great strain on the credulity of the ordinary mind.
And I wrote, am I right?
Am I
right?
right?
I wrote it because
Yeah.
I feel like I could have wrote that.
Yeah.
Am I right to
I love
think
that she says it. Yeah.
it's rational? It's more rational. And this really hit me because I've told you before that my daughter, at a very young age, I have this children's Bible that was my eldest sister's, and she found it and she was reading it. But like months later, it's like summertime, and all of a sudden she's like this little peanut, and she's like, don't want to get pregnant. And I'm like, okay, girl, just, she's little. I'm like, don't get a boyfriend. She's like, Mary didn't get a boyfriend. And I was like, oh, like it marinated. Like, and she was like terrified. And I was like, oh, girl, that was like a once in a ever.
That was a once in a never situation.
It was like one time only.
I forgot that it does strike that fear into like little girls. We were like, well, wait, what?
Yeah.
Think about that.
Terrified.
Though. Think about that for a second, host body.
I know. It's and it
so
maybe
even that idea. See, Elizabeth didn't know it was in store, but the idea of immaculate conception also gives all of these creeps now grounds for being like, well, look at this.
Yeah. It's so creepy.
It's so creepy.
And that's when I really started like, what am I doing? Like, oh no,
Yeah.
What route do I go?
Yeah.
And now I've gone down this route. So she's been a part of this because how can you not? You live with someone, she knows what we're doing.
I know. And she's so smart.
But yes, and I love that she says the ordinary mind. Like everybody can see that that's a little wonky.
It's supernatural.
Magical.
It's magical. That's why it's not when these Victorian ladies are saying like these superstitions of Christianity, when they're saying stuff like that, they're not being mean. They're just saying that's what that is.
Yeah.
There's immaculate conception. Come on. But you're going to base your whole stuff on that? You know. I mean, so this next section, I know you said you had a lot underlined, so now I have the first.
Oh, I got the time.
So this is like our anonymous writer. And the whole time I'm reading it, I'm like, oh, yeah, you had to go anonymous.
I know. It's so good. Look at this. Look at
I know. The very first line in her, I'm assuming her, you never know. Jesus was the great leading radical of his age. Everything he was and said and did alienated and angered the conservatives, those that represented and stood for the established order of what they believed to be fixed and final revelation of God.
I wrote, and today conservatives get to ignore all of his teachings and just make new ones for him. Because if he was here, he'd be like,
what are you doing?
What are you doing?
Yeah.
I love everybody.
Well, they like it because of the patriarchal order and how men are constantly forgiven and redeemed.
Yeah.
While they're like controlling other people. So, it works out for them.
It works for them.
So she's kind of ripping apart the virgin birth.
I know.
So go ahead with whatever you got.
Well,
I'm like, what do you got?
This whole thing by Anonymous is like amazing. You need to read it. And whoever it is literally says, I think, and then says they're anonymous. And I just need to know who you are. I think that the doctrine of the virgin birth as something higher, sweeter, nobler than ordinary motherhood is a slew on all the natural motherhood of the world. I place beside the false, monkish, unnatural claim of the Immaculate Conception my mother, who was as holy in her motherhood as was Mary herself.
Ooh, mm-hmm.
Yeah, and all women know that. All people who have a mother have an idea of what it takes to be a mother, and Mary was a mother. Mm-hmm. And to say that she was more motherly than anybody else, it's a slur.
I love that.
It's a slew of slurs.
And because that whole like noble, like divine motherhood is held up, you can see how that is repeated. We talked about the contradictions that are placed on women, and that's part of it.
Yeah.
Like the untouchable, holiest mother that we also don't give any rights or respect.
It's the paradox is like mind-numbing.
It's crazy.
It's mind-numbing.
It's crazy.
I learned about a guy in this section from Anonymous because I was like, who is old Father Taylor? So
I do know right here it says the famous Methodist Bethel preacher in Boston. Tell me.
Yeah. So he said he was famous. And when he was asked if he thought anybody had since lived who was as good as Jesus, he said, yes, millions of them.
I love that.
This is Methodist authority, because after talking about birth, they were talking about, weren't there people as good as Jesus? And so this minister was like, yeah, millions of them. What are you talking about? And I'm like, oh, that's great. Why was he so popular? So then I went down the rabbit hole, and I'm like, I got to know who this is. So he lived 1793 to 1887. So popular in Boston that Dickens even wrote about him.
Really?
And this makes me love him because these are the best priests, the best leaders, the best teachers are people who've been through a struggle. He was a foster kid. Age 7, he ran away, became a sailor at age 7. Imagine this kid.
Foster kid, sailor turned priest.
And
how did I miss this?
I know. So biblical teachings with a seaman's language. So it just really brought everybody, was like, who is this guy? Now, interesting, he was anti-slavery and partial to people of color, but hated abolitionists.
Oh.
Because they attacked the church.
Oh.
So he's a great guy, but, you know, everybody has their feelings.
Yeah,
little things. Because he loved his church.
Wow.
But very dynamic teacher and had a great following.
And he was like, there's lots of great people.
Yeah, you might be Jesus, you know?
There's
a million people that you can be, you know, learn from and be inspired by.
My note here at the end of the thing was like, dang, this is all about how Jesus was just a dude.
Yeah.
I mean, she does say
great dude.
Yeah, like what made Jesus the power he was of his time, and she talks about his inexplicable charm. He had an intellectual power of speech. Wait, this is really interesting too. So, most of the sayings of Jesus are not original in the sense that nobody else ever uttered any similar truths before. Confucius, 6,000 years before Jesus, gave utterance to the Golden Rule. And then she said that he just had a lot of like sympathy and tenderness to him. He was a great personality.
And he was a good person, so people flocked to him because he was nice.
Yeah, the inexplicable charm about his personality, which drew all the common people to him, as iron fillings are drawn to a magnet.
Yeah, because you meet people like that. I mean, good people and bad people.
But he uses charisma for good.
For good.
She closes with this gorgeous paragraph. But I don't.
Can I love this? Can I read this?
You can love read it.
Can I love read it? Because I was like, I had to write, I love this. I understood it. I was like, I got mad. I was like, anonymous? Why can't I know who wrote this? I mean, she probably signed a note non-disclosure. Okay. When it is dark in the morning and before the sun rises, there are high peaks that catch the far-off rays and begin to glow, while the rest of the world still lies in the shadow. So there are mountainous men, not supernatural, but as natural as the mountains and the sun. Mountainous men who catch the light before our common eyes on the plains and in the valleys can see it, who see and proclaim from their lofty heights far-off visions of truth and beauty that we as yet cannot discern.
Jesus.
Anonymous. Yeah, like, the metaphor is the...
I know. Oh, my
the
gosh.
Light, the picture
gorgeous.
I see. And that's the Jesus I know. That's the Jesus that Anne Rice writes about.
Is it truly? I know we brought it up last week. I'm like, I need to look that up.
I can't believe that book never took off. It was so great. There was 2, I think.
I can. This is a touchy subject.
It is. And Anne Rice wrote about vampires and then Jesus. That's a...
You're like, well, you know.
Makes sense.
Eternal life. Like, why is that such a stretch?
Right.
Think about it, people. So I really like that intro to the New Testament because it's not that they're like, this is all BS. They're like, 2 major points. Mm-hmm. The Immaculate Conception. Come on now.
Come on now.
And Jesus being like a supernatural, divine, like Son of God is like, come on now.
Yeah. These are the 2 things that we need to remedy. We need to bring it back.
Bring it back.
Bring it back to the man.
So we have, bring it back. Bring it back. Look at the mountains.
Look at the mountains. Listen to the...
Anytime you have questions, just read that great paragraph from Anonymous. Right back into, I shouldn't say right back into, so we're getting into the book of Matthew, which extends that idea of like, Jesus was just like a gifted, man, charismatic.
Caring. Yeah, magnetic.
I mean, he could be a prophet, but just this idea.
Well, like, I think magnetic personalities, I've always thought that, like, I've always thought of MLK as a prophet.
Sure, like, yeah. That's cool.
I mean, what is a prophet? A prophet is
anyways.
A prophet is someone who evokes in you a feeling that you need to be better.
Elizabeth, in this response, there's just a couple, like Matthew chapter 1, 16 and 17, but this is talking about the lineage of Mary and Jesus. So she says, like, if, as the scriptures claim, he descended from heaven, begotten by the Holy Ghost, the incarnation of God himself, then there was nothing remarkable in his career, nor miraculous in the seeming wonders which he performed, being the soul and the center of all the forces of the universe of matter and mind. Mm-hmm. Because she's like, why are they writing about him turning water into wine? Like, that's like, yeah, because if he's God.
Yeah.
So she's saying that. And then she's saying, like, if he was an ideal character, like the gifted hero of some novel or tragedy, his great deeds and his wise sayings, the result of the imagination of some skillful artist, then we may admire the sketch as a beautiful picture. But if Jesus was a man who was born, lived, and died as do other men, a worthy example for imitation, he is deserving of our love and reverence. And by showing us the possibilities of human nature, he is a constant inspiration, our hope and salvation, for the path, however rough, in which one man has walked, others may follow.
Yeah, so why did they have to make it all wackadoodle? That's what I mean. Like,
well, they have to make it super, like, again, that supernatural thing, this unobtainable, it has to be spectacular for you to care about it.
The sun on the mountains is not spectacular. Is it not? Have you ever watched that?
But this is the thing. All stories, it's kind of just like why we don't go to movies to see just about like a normal day in the life.
Right.
For a story to be interesting and grab an audience, it has to have some like razzmatazz. These books did. The problem lies in people taking it literally.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Like Elizabeth is trying to say, but if we look at him like he's a interesting man, worthy example for imitation, now we're talking.
Yeah. And you should want to be like him because he accepted everyone. Turn the other cheek.
She also kind of mentions he was kind of like a stud muffin.
I know, isn't that funny?
Yeah, she goes, his great physical beauty.
I know.
I'm like, yeah, I've seen him.
She didn't see. I thought that was funny that they put that in there too. But I'm sure he was. Good-looking people do draw people in.
It's true.
But
they said that some writers think his mother was a wise, great, and beautiful Jewish maiden. His father, a learned rabbi who devoted much time and thought to his son's education. And if you think about it, not a lot of people were educated traditionally back then.
He went to the temples and sat with them as a young child. So that makes sense. But because he was so outspoken against all the greed and everything, it made him a marked man, and people wanted him dead, which we know. So for the reasons that we should adore him, they were the reasons he was hated, reviled, persecuted.
And it's sad.
It's a sad story.
Well, she says here, he commands far more love and reverence as a true man with only human possibilities than as a God superior to all human frailties and temptations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I agree with this writing.
So tell me what else you found out about, or what you liked in this, comments on Matthew.
Well, Mr. Matthew was basically telling the story. He's basically he's the guy that really gives the lineage of my man Jesus. But they talk about the birth, all the story that we know. They saw the star, they followed the star, and they guided him to the house where this young child was. And of course, the king at that time was like, another king, I gotta kill that guy.
He's like, I don't think so. Okay, and this is where we talk about the Magi's who came from Arabia to give him, the three wise men.
They saw him as a baby. They knew right away he was something special.
Yep.
And they didn't turn him in. And this is where King Herod takes his place in the story.
I know, and I had to pause because
evil man.
I always knew, we always heard that like the three Magi or, the Magi. So they call them Magians. Did you know what this is?
No. Well, I think I read it.
We kind of
get it. They're from a certain area.
Yeah, they're from, they're the followers of the ancient Persian religion of Zoroastrianism. Zoroastrianism, or its precursor, often associated with priests and religious practices involving astrology and fire worship.
Okay.
It's kind of like an ancient Persian
So this
religion.
makes sense. They saw a meteor.
Yeah.
They followed it. What if Jesus is just a dude?
He's just a dude that was under a cool star. He was like, hey, it was the meteor showers. We were over here.
I think we just discovered something on our own.
I know.
Oh, my gosh.
I know.
They were astrologers.
Yeah. Well,
they were
involved, they involved astrology. And see, this is, I'm like, astrology is one of the oldest traditions
well, it makes
of
sense.
kind of
we
understanding and really,
where we
I
are,
know.
our place in space.
Yeah. So it was the major religion in ancient Persia, and it was a dualistic worldview of good and evil. Isn't that wild?
That is the one thing I can get behind, because that is literally what I'm watching happening.
I know. Well, this is like a monotheistic, so I don't know if we really want to get into this, though. But they were, so they were a priestly class associated. The Magi's were. So I just thought that was kind of neat.
That is neat. But that makes sense with the star and everything. I love that. They followed the star, found Jesus, gave him gifts.
Yep. And so we have...
And pissed off the king, because he was like, they were like, this baby's special. So the king wants to kill the Jesus baby.
Yeah, of course.
Little baby Jesus. And this really pissed off the king. And then apparently the woman that's talked about in this section with Herod is niece to both of her husbands. So King Herod, she was married to someone else, and then he went off to another country, and the girl, Herodias, she had a baby with the first guy. He left. There was a new guy, and she was like, hey, uncle, do you want to marry me now? Because, my other uncle left, and I only have this baby. No, it doesn't really say it that way, but that's exactly what happened. And John the Baptist stepped in and said, hey, that's against the law, and that's really wrong that you're doing that. And that really ticked her off.
That's right.
Well, this is one interpretation of the story. Ticked her off. And she directed, then her daughter comes in dance, and Herod's like, ooh, I like your dancing. I'll give you whatever you want. Also very creepy, very petty, pedo-y. She's like, I'll give you whatever you want. And her mom is like, girl, you better ask for John the Baptist's head. And so she does. I mean, she could ask for anything. Instead, she's like, all right, Mom, get John's head, because he said that you're a hoe bag. Essentially, that's what it is in today's terms. And so LCS says, it must have been a great trial to the daughter, who might have asked for so many beautiful gifts and rare indulgences to yield to her wicked mother's revenge. But these deeds were speedily avenged. It is said that Salome, the daughter, had her head cut off by the ice breaking as she passed over it. Herod was shortly after engaged in a disastrous war on account of the same lady, and was expelled from his territories, and both died in exile, hated by everybody and hating one another. So karma.
There you go. Major karma.
But that story is then refuted. This EBD says, which is current among the theological scandal mongers, there is not a moderately intelligent jury of Christendom, if composed half women, half men, which after examining all the available evidence would not render a verdict in the favor of not guilty. The statement is that she paid the price of her own daughter's debasement and disgrace for the head of John the Baptist, is an assertion born wholly of the ecclesiastical distorted imagination. Not even a hint, much less an iota of proof to warrant such an assertion is found anywhere in history, sacred or profane. And then she says, Christian centuries did put into circulation the charge that John the Baptist was put to death at the instigation of Herodias, the girl that had two husbands, without implicating her daughter's character, however. But Josephus, on the other hand, contrarily explicitly declares that his death was wholly a political matter.
But I will tell you this about our awesome
EBD?
EBD. If you'll recall, this is kind of who the book is dedicated to, because she was a contributor that passed away. Yeah, she died in Boston on November 25th, 1895 at the age of 48. And so she was alive for the first part of the Women's Bible, but the second part, which there I think are 5 different parts where she contributes. She was passed away early.
Oh my gosh, 48. That's so young.
But she is a rad lady, another one. And so she was a suffragist and author who was active in the movements and organizations in Kentucky and Massachusetts. She married a Dietrich dude in Baltimore, and they moved to Covington, Kentucky. But she established organizations to aid women, an educational industrial union, a day nursery, a cooperative bakery and cooking school, and a home for elderly women.
Oh my gosh.
Who has
She's
the
younger
time?
than me. I've done nothing.
I know.
Nothing.
We've done nothing with our lives. Like, you don't have, she campaigned for civic reform in areas such as jail conditions in city government. And this little bio says, like, it was said of her that she, quote unquote, ran the town. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah.
She played a large part in this women's Bible, you know, how it came to be. So it's just really, she's a really cool lady. She lectured on equal rights and wrote for various publications, including the Women's Journal. But she wrote a book in 1889, The Families of John and Jake, and it's a treatise on the relations between labor and capital, following two families, one prosperous and the other poor. I need to get my hands on that.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, that's so needed right now.
I know. I'm like, I want to read a labor and capital book by a lady writer.
Right?
Isn't that neat? And then she wrote another book about women in the early Christian ministry, a refutation of Christian teachings that relegated women to second-class status in the world. So I think this is the third contributor that has a separate text about this very topic. So, I mean, these ladies were just totally smart and awesome. And then they're like, she just wrote a couple books and set up, you know, pantries and schools and nurseries and baking and a cooperative bakery and what? I've done
48.
nothing. I've done nothing.
What are we doing? You know, we got to get off the social media. And start planting potatoes.
Like, yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I mean, what the heck?
And she's a great writer. Now, I did notice, and I know we'll go through a few of these things. I was a little worried about this part in the New Testament, because the second part of the Women's Bible, I was like, they're a little less sassy, because they do have a lot more paragraphs that are kind of historical summaries, right, or story summaries. So,
but this is what I want to read. What she said about Josephus, because that's what made me look him up. She said, "Well, they were trying to figure out, like, was the lady a really bad chick for taking John's head, and just because she couldn't have her cake and eat it too." Now, the jury must remember that Josephus was born in Jerusalem about 38 A.D., that he was an educated man and in a position to know the facts in this case, owing both to his prominent position among the Jews and to his study of contemporaneous history. But that, on the other hand, the anonymous writers who bring Herodias' name into the transaction are not traceable further back than the 4th century of our era.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, wait, that's how I have it wrong. That's 301 CE, 400 CE. Sorry.
Don't even give me, I need
Josephus was 38 AD. Very close to the, common era of Jesus, just 38 years after. And that they do not, and that even they do not bring any charge against her character as a mother. They delivered the head.
That was another story as a kid. I remember John the Baptist. They left out the background of that now that I'm hearing. Yet another Bible story where I'm like, well, you didn't tell me about the creep behind all that. Yeah, okay.
Creepy.
Okay.
I did want to say, so they're talking about, first of all, Mary is, a virgin, kind of weird. Jesus, probably just a normal man, but did some great things for people. And you hear about the miracles of, like, bringing people to life. And that's what he's famous for, right? That's why people went and followed him, according to the Bible that I read. The writer here says, we might doubt the truth of all these miracles. Did we not see so many wonderful things in our own day, which we would have pronounced impossible years ago? The fact of human power developing in so many remarkable ways proves that Jesus' gift of performing miracles is attainable by those who, like him, live pure lives and whose blood flows in the higher arcs of the brain. If one man at any period of the world's history performed miracles, others equally gifted may do the same. And I said, let's do it. And that's where we save the world.
Yeah, and I wrote my little note says, ooh, These Victorian ladies are really like anyone can be Jesus. That's why you listen to this podcast, for that kind of expert that is like expert.
So get on it and start miracling.
They really only picked just a few passages from Matthew. And so chapter 2 in Matthew is this story. And already I was like, what the? So it's about the kingdom of heaven be like in 10 virgins. And it's something, they're at some like wedding.
Oh,
Who's ever getting married?
This parable. Is it a parable?
It's a parable about a wedding, and there's 10 virgins. Again, I'm like,
there are virgins
one
everywhere.
bridegroom.
Yeah, 10 virgins. Fight it out.
I mean, again, and in fact, the response to this, I'm like, how come the ladies aren't even mentioning, like, why does one guy get 10 women again? But there's
1895. They're like, well, you know.
So, but it is a parable about the bridegroom, and so he has 10 virgins. 5 of them had like filled their lamps with lamp oil. 5 of them didn't.
They weren't prepared.
But apparently, it's a metaphor about keeping your own light lit.
Yeah, that's what the lady said.
I couldn't get past the 10 virgins. So you
go ahead. Oh my God! This actually, I was like, this is great. Because there's 2 interpretations. There's like the male interpretation, which is, those ladies, they didn't get the guy because they weren't prepared, and these ladies are like, yeah, you're missing the point.
Right.
Dummy.
Exactly.
Let me tell you what this parable, because this is a great parable. And it means that we ladies need to stop relying on these yahoos and get our asses into the government and change the freaking laws. That's what they
unquote.
That's the parable.
That's the parable.
That's the parable. We can take care of ourselves and light our own damn lamps.
I love
and
this.
And I'll tell you about my host body.
I know. I love this term. So she writes, the idea of being a helpmeet to somebody else. I know. I was like, a helpmeet? That's like an old school meet cute. Right? Yes. What is that? The idea of being a helpmeet to somebody else has been so sedulously drilled into most women that an individual life, aim, purpose, and ambition are never taken into consideration. They oftentimes do so much in other directions that they neglect the most vital duties to themselves. Fill that lamp with oil.
Come on! Yeah.
And that's what...
Helpmeet.
I love that.
I was like, that's a fantastic...
I know.
I'm done being your helpmeet.
Helpmeet. So the last part, and this is ECS, right?
This, see, it doesn't say there. I think so, though.
ECS is dropping knowledge.
Yeah, she does the whole end.
So that's what Elizabeth writes about her interpretation of that parable. I was like, yeah, that's much better than like, if you don't do this, you won't get a boyfriend. So women's devotion to the comfort, the education, the success of men in general, into their plans and projects is in great measure due to her self-abnegation and self-sacrifice, having been so long and so sweetly lauded by poets, philosophers, and priests as the acme of human goodness and glory. And so, is this the part, I don't want to step on your thing, but now to my mind, there's nothing commendable in the action of young women who go about begging funds to educate young men for the ministry, while they and the majority of their sex are too poor to educate themselves, and if able, are still denied admittance into some of the leading institutions in learning throughout our land.
Yeah, that's why we got the women's rights.
I know, it is not commendable for women to get up fairs and donation parties for churches in which the gifted of their sex may neither pray, preach, share in the offices and honors, nor have a voice in the business affairs, creeds, and discipline, and from whose altars come forth biblical interpretations in favor of women's subjection. Yeah. Elizabeth, I mean, you know what? You think you can run out of ways to tell people to fuck off?
But yet, here's proof. Like, I was like, yeah, I'm going with you. Again.
Actually, she's not telling people to F up. She's just kind of like, ladies.
Wake up.
You're doing that much fundraising and all this stuff.
And you don't even get to go to the damn school.
Right.
Are you kidding me?
Right.
What are you doing?
Right.
Light your own damn lamp.
Get your lamp full. So, yeah.
In their ignorance, women sacrifice themselves to educate the men of their households and go and to make themselves ladders by which their husbands, brothers, sons
Nasty.
climb up into the kingdom of knowledge while they themselves are shut out from all intellectual companionship, even with those they love best. Such are indeed like the foolish virgins. Those 5 without oil.
Right. Unlike the
Don't be
smart virgin.
I know that this is what you're talking about when they're talking
Yeah.
about you're like, wait, why are they just like the
Like,
Can we talk about the virgins, ladies?
can we talk about why, again, we have polygamy? Like, can we talk about that?
It's funny because they never talk about that, and I think it's hilarious.
I know. So,
Don't be a foolish virgin, be a smart virgin.
But I can't tell you the rest. I mean, this would turn into an
But
audiobook.
like, she writes, I was like,
Go ahead.
oh, this is her feeling.
Yep.
The solitude of ignorance. Oh, who can measure its misery?
She's so.
I know who can
something
measure
else.
it. Elizabeth Cady Stanton
Yeah.
can measure it.
She is so. I mean, this is almost where I'm like, you should buy the book just to read this part.
Just this.
Because there really is. There's even more about like
The ignorance and degradation of the past, as in grand procession they enter the temple of knowledge, and the door is no longer shut. This is when we take over. This is. I'm telling you, 1895. By 2025, women are gonna just rule things.
Yeah. She's like, the door is no longer shut.
It's not shut. We have the oil. Let's ride.
The lanterns are lit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, that's the main thing. I think
That's
she's
it.
like, women, take back your power. Quit being a ladder.
Yeah.
When you're getting nothing, what are you getting by building these churches? What are you getting by making all the cakes at the bake sale? What is that doing for you?
Yeah. So it feels great. Feels great to be in the New Testament. Don't you just feel like you're in a super church? I wish we had an electric guitar or something. You know what I'm saying? In our next episode, we'll be discussing the Victorian feminist take on the books of Mark and Luke. Can't wait. Do you have any hot takes or insights on the books in the New Testament? Reach out. Our contact details are in the show notes.
Don't forget, a great way to resist fascism is to support independent media. So like, comment, subscribe, and share this podcast liberally, like you put on sunblock.
Thank you for listening, and we hope to see you next week. You bring your ears, we'll bring the virgins and the lamp oil.
I love it. Keep it weird.